Yeah. Alright, Twitch. Let's see if you're working today. Hopefully you should be. We'll get all the spectator up. Telemetry. It's already on miles an hour. Good to see. Thank you past me for putting it on miles an hour. That's about it in terms of all the on-screen stuff. Calls F1. Let's see if the stream's up. There it is there. The audio is working as it should. The stream's up, the chat's up. We're all good to go. Fantastic. Well, hello everyone and welcome to round 3 of the AM1 Championship here on Contest of Speed. I'm Lane Everingham, your commentator for this event, and this time we're racing at Autodromo Nazionale Monza for the Italian Grand Prix. This legendary racetrack, also known as Formula One's Temple of Speed, is a 3.6 mile 11-turn circuit that was created in 1922, making it the third oldest permanent racetrack in the history of motorsport. This year will be celebrating its 100th birthday, pretty big occasion for this legendary circuit. It's a simple and very recognizable layout, but don't let that fool you. There are plenty of areas the drivers will have to be mindful of. There are the insufferable curbs at Variante Rettifilo and Variante della Roggia, the first two chicanes on the racetrack. They were made taller in F1 2021, and as a result, if you dare touch them, you'll be sent into the stratosphere. There's also Variante Ascari, formed by turns 8, 9 and 10. It's arguably the most demanding part of the racetrack. It's a fast left-right left slalom with curbs either side of the road that can easily, very easily unsettle the car. There have been plenty of accidents of drivers losing control when coming out of the chicane, and I don't doubt we'll see someone lose it there tonight. Slightly overcast conditions for both qualifying and the race, so we shouldn't see any wet weather interference. Hopefully, with it being nice and dry, we get to see some entertaining stuff out on track tonight. But before we focus on this qualifying session, there is a little bit of news to go through first from last week's race in Baku. Only 2 incident reports, one of which involving Nicholas Latifi and Aaron Carey, the other involving Cameron and Fatal, both of which resulting in no further action, but Cameron did cop 1 penalty point for failing to provide footage for the incident report. So the results stand from last week. In the Drivers' Championship, Andy Wu is leading on 37 points, followed by Nicholas Latifi on 34. Elliott in the McLaren is third on 30 points, followed by Cameron on 25. And Berzig completes the top 5 on 15, with his teammate JD just 1 point behind on 14. Completing the table, we have Elite Game Boy, Mitch Burns, P-Dog Payton, and Aaron Carey. In the Constructors' Championship, Red Bull are leading on 59 points, followed by Aston Martin on 37. So already Red Bull have got a pretty healthy lead in the Teams' Championship. McLaren are third on 30 points, all thanks to Elliott and his performances so far. 1 point behind them is Alfa Romeo in fourth on 29 points. Alpine are fifth, they're on 18 points, followed by Haas on 10, Ferrari on 8. Mercedes and AlphaTauri are currently equal ninth, both with 6 points, and Williams at the bottom of the table, yet to score. And that's pretty much it in terms of news. We can now focus on qualifying, which should be a very interesting qualifying session. Monza, it's a relatively simple track, and as a result, qualifying tends to be quite close here. So hopefully we get to see some interesting stuff during this session. Perhaps we might see a little bit of teamwork from the drivers tonight. Maybe a bit of slipstreaming here and there as Kitten Pettis sets off on a flying lap. We're right on board with the Ferrari driver. Take us on a tour of this famous Italian racetrack. It's only fitting, really. Coming out of the Rettifilo chicane, turns 1 and 2. Heading towards Curva Grande, turn 3. It's absolutely flat out. Ideally, you want to hug the inside as best you can. Now heading towards Variante della Roggia. Hard on the brakes at the 100-meter board, bringing it down to third gear. You have to avoid those orange curbs as best you can, because if you touch them, you will get launched. Around the Lesmo curves, Lesmo 1, and heading towards Lesmo 2 as No Cap jumps up to pole position with a 30.2. Coming out to turn 7, heading down the long straightaway towards the Ascari chicane. We'll head underneath the famous embankment that covers the racetrack. Now into this famous chicane. Turn 8, you have to cut a little bit here, through turn 9, then into turn 10. This is where a lot of drivers tend to get undone. Turn 10. That inside curb is rather tall, so if you ride it awkwardly, the back end will step out on you and you'll crash into a wall. Now into Parabolica, one of my favourite corners in all of Formula 1. Nice tight entry, and it opens up on the exit. You have to get on the throttle as early as you can, as Kitten Petter will complete his flying lap to jump up to P3 with a 1 minute 20.844. Not bad position-wise, but he's currently half a second off No Cap. Closest driver to No Cap is Elite Game Boy. He's 3/10 off, so No Cap looking pretty quick out there. Blade getting out of the way, getting ready to set a flying lap it seems. Payton's in the middle of one. He's heading up to the second sector split just before Ascari. Heading in 4th gear, back on the power, 5th gear, 6th gear through turn 10, keeping it flat, nice and tidy there from Payton as he heads down the back straightaway towards Parabolica. He'll enter the corner at 201 miles an hour, brings it down to 4th gear, back on the power as soon as he dares. As Dream has retired, he is retired in the pit lane. No, a crash, I think. Kitten Petter's out as well. Hang on a minute. Let's see here. Nicholas is coming onto the scene. Dream and Kitten Petter crashing out after the first Lesmo curve. What on earth happened to those two? Drama already, and not in a section I anticipated. From the looks of things, Petter might have done a Hamilton impression. I can't remember what Grand Prix was though. Was it maybe 2010 Italian Grand Prix where he lost the back end and put it into the wall there? Don't know. Quite curious to understand what happened there. What were the two purpose-built circuits before Monza? Nice question. Well, the first ever permanent built circuit was Brooklands over in the UK. I think that was built in 1908 if I recall correctly. And the second permanent built racetrack is a track in your neck of the woods, Indianapolis, built in 1911. Formerly known as the Brickyard, as it was all made of bricks, which turned out to be an incredibly unsafe idea. But interestingly enough, it took 11 years after Indianapolis for the next permanent racetrack to be built for race cars, and it's here at Monza. So 2009. Thank you, KD. Oh, right, so Dream parked it on the racing line, did he? Oh, okay. I'm quite befuddled about what happened there at the first lesson. I thought maybe you lost the back end and maybe Dream ran into you, or vice versa, but no, if what you're saying is, well, I think you're saying, that's, yeah, that's quite interesting. Don't trust your predictions today, Vermoon. Have faith, have a little bit of faith. Because you never know here at Monza. It's definitely one of those drama racetracks, a bit like Jeddah, a bit like Albert Park, where, oh, as Ray lost the back end there, entering the first lesson, where there's just a spare soft tyre sitting there, because that's still a thing in this game. But the racing here tends to be a bit 50-50, because you get really long DRS trains forming. When you got a DRS train, you got the top two, the two leading the DRS train fighting, but everyone else in the middle is basically stuck, and they've got nothing to do except follow the car in front, as Lopez has crashed out at turn 10. See if we can't find a car. Mitch Burns arriving on the scene. There is Lopez. It appears he's lost it at 9 and put it into the wall on the outside of turn 10. As Mitch here is going to complete a flying lap. Comes out of Parabolica, heading down main straightaway now towards the finish line. And it's P4 for Mitch Burns with a 1 minute 20.698. No Cap has just begun a flying lap. He's just behind a new driver, new name, Rick Dalton, who was set at 19.8. Coming out of turn 2, heading towards Curva Grande. Nice and tidy there from the Williams driver. Quite surprised Williams hasn't scored any points. I suppose it just shows how much rotten luck No Cap has got in the first two races, because No Cap looks incredibly quick. Not just here, but also in the previous two races at Bahrain and Baku. Coming around the Lesmo curves now in 5th gear. Heading up towards the second Lesmo. Really important corner to get right as it dictates the top speed down this straightaway towards Ascari. Keeps it nice and narrow through this little kink underneath the banking. Heading towards turn 8, entering at 209 miles an hour. Brings it down to about 215 at the apex of turn 8. Nice and tidy on the exit there for No Cap as he's heading down the back straightaway, I suppose, towards Parabolica. Bit of a little toe there from the Aston Martin. I think that's Mitch Burns. He got a little bit of a toe from. Coming out of Parabolica, heading towards the finish line. No Cap, will he improve? The answer is yes, but only by 74 thousandths of a second. Racing Fan has jumped up to P3. He's just in front of his teammate Elliott, who is going back into the pits. Elite Game Boy appears to be going back into the pits as well, because of that completely destroyed front wing on his Alpine. D-Dog Payton on a flying lap coming out of the Rettifilio chicane. JD TV8 has been disqualified for driving the wrong way. Where is he? There he is there at turn 10. The AI getting out of the way of cars on flying laps. So JD, he'll be starting from the back, not the place you want to start here at Monza's. Blade has come to a stop. Now he gets going. Thankfully, he hasn't been disqualified. There's Andy Wu. I think he's just jumped up to P7 with a 20.7. I'm pretty certain. I was just briefly reading chat just then. There's Mr. Dalton here. Doesn't appear to be on a flying lap right now, so he might be just trying to dump a little bit of extra fuel for his second proper flying lap. No Cap improves to a 20.1. He's still not quite in the 19s. He's missed out by a 10th, but he's very much in front of, well, now P-Dog Payton and P3, who was set at 20.4. Racing Fan going back into the pits. I imagine a lot of drivers are going back into the pits. Express here is going to complete a flying lap, heading up towards the finish line. He's going to jump up to P8 with a 20.7. Just 4 hundredths behind P7, which is Mitch Burns. Nicholas Latifi, he's on a flying lap. He's up by almost 2 tenths to the middle sector, making his way through Ascari, heading onto the back straightaway. He's low on fuel, so this will be his final flying lap before he has to head back into the pit lane. Entering at almost 200 miles an hour into Parabolica. Nice and tidy, keeps it well within the white lines. He's heading up towards the finish line to improve to a 20.8. 11th fastest for Latifi. Someone's jumped up. That's Profodes, I think. The captain himself just set a 20.3. Chris, are you on a flying lap here, buddy? Don't think so. No, you're not. So we've got a few drivers on out laps. We've got Ray getting ready to begin a flying lap. Cameron's on an out lap. He's yet to set a lap time down in 18th place. He doesn't have a great deal of time to try and properly set one. Hopefully he's able to get one on the board. Racing Fan and Elliott are getting ready. Same with Elite Game Boy and Mitch Burns. Keep an eye on Ray at the moment as he's on a flying lap heading towards turns 1 and 2. Brings it down to 3rd gear, down to 2nd for turn 1, around turn 2. It's quite a tight, cumbersome chicane, and that'll become incredibly noticeable on the opening lap when the drivers have to filter through side by side. It's not fun. Heading towards De La Roggia. Get on the brakes, brings it down to 3rd gear. Keeps it in 3rd at the exit of turn 5. Heading towards Lesmo 1. Down to 6th gear, back on the power, nice and easy. Keeps off the curbs. Do have to be a bit careful with all of the curbs around this racetrack, or around any racetrack in F1 2021, as all have the potential of spinning your car out, such is the nature of this game. As Ray is up by 0.6 of a second, a healthy improvement to the middle sector. Coming out of Ascari. Ray needs to improve by another 4/10 to try and overtake Fatal, who was set to 21.1 compared to Ray's 22.1. Heading around Parabolica. Nice and easy there. Keeps it nice and tidy on the exit as well. Very narrow indeed. As Ray crosses the line to improve toward 21.6. Mitch Burns is currently up by 4/10 to the middle sector. He's coming around Parabolica. Nice and easy on the power. Oh, a bit wide there at the mid part of Parabolica. Heading up towards the finish line, Mitch Burns will improve by a 10th, 6th fastest with a 20.589. Racing Fan is coming out of Curva Grande, heading towards De La Roggia. Hard on the brakes, bringing it down to 3rd gear, avoiding those orange curbs as best they can. Heading towards Lesmo 1, bringing it down to 5th gear, back on the power nice and early. Using a healthy amount of curb on the exit 2. Around the 2nd Lesmo, heading down the straightaway towards Ascari. Probably missed the apex by maybe half a foot or so. But they got around the corner, that's the main thing. And I don't think they lost a tremendous amount of time. Although down by 2/10 to the middle sector, they might just pull out of the lap and back off as Cameron has jumped up to P2 with a 1 minute 19.8. Just 300ths behind Dalton, who is still occupying pole position as Elliott goes straight on at the opening chicane. Payton getting ready. Preferred's getting ready. Same with No Cap and Dalton. They're all getting ready to set their final flying laps in this qualifying session. Race Fan appears to be attacking Stills, trying to set a 2nd flying lap. He's only just behind his teammate Elliott. Those McLarens inside the top 10, looking pretty solid at the moment. Mitch Burns, his qualifying is done. Express has improved by 4/10 to set a 20.7. He's currently just inside the top 10. Andy Wu is currently down to the 1st sector, and he's our championship leader, and he's well and truly in the midfield. And Kitapeta, to your credit, you're still 12th, even after crashing out earlier in this qualifying session. Andy getting a helping hand from Bursey there as he understeers off the racetrack, trying to get out of the Ferrari's way. Heading down the back straightaway towards Parabolica. If they improve by just a 10th or so, they can jump up into the top 10. Potentially P8 or so. Coming out to Parabolica. Oh, he's backed off completely as Cameron's improved to a 19.5. He's now 3/10 in front of Cameron as Preferred sets off on a flying lap. No Cap's making his way towards the 2nd Lesmo, currently P3 with a 20.1. Dalton's coming around Curva Grande. Can he try and beat Cameron to retake pole position? No Cap's heading towards the middle sector split. The clock says he's up, but only just by 24 thousandths of a second. Racing Fan has jumped up to P4 with a 20.3. Preferred is making his way through the 2nd sector. He's up by 26 thousandths as he goes onto the gravel just a little bit. The Alpine in the background, that would be Payton, having a bit of a wiggle out of De La Roggia. No Cap's coming out of Parabolica for the final time in qualifying. He'll cross the finish line to set a 1 minute 19.9. It's not enough to improve position, but he does indeed crack into the 19s. Dalton's up by almost 3/10 to the middle sector. He only has one more corner to negotiate, and that's Parabolica heading into the famous right-hander. Brings it down to 4th gear, back onto the power. Nice and steady on the exit, keeping that car nice and straight. He heads towards the finish line. Does Dalton improve? He most certainly does. He takes pole position back with a 1 minute 19.501, beating Cameron by just under half a tenth of a second. Payton, his qualifying session is done. We got a backwards Mercedes there. That is Preferred. He's lost it at Ascari, so his session is done. Best he can hope for is P5. We've only got a few more drivers setting lap times. Latifi's not going to improve. Express is down on his PB, but he gets a fairly aggressive run out of Parabolica. Someone's just jumped up. That's Elite Game Boy up to P6. Express improved by only 5 thousandths of a second, and he stays P10. And I do believe that's the end of qualifying. So it's Dalton on pole position, followed by Cameron in the Red Bull in P2. No Cap P3, a really solid qualifying session for Williams, and they need it. They haven't scored a single point this season. Racing Fan will start P4 with Preferred's P5. Game Boy and Payton P6 and 7. Solid effort from the Alpine drivers. We'll run through the rest of the order when the final results screen comes up. There we are. Rest of the order looks like Elliott in P8, followed by Mitch Burns. Express completes the top 10. Only 1.2 seconds separating the top 10. That's pretty close here at Monza. Andy Wu P11. He'll have Kitten Petter alongside on the 6th row. So not the best effort from Ferrari, but they will get a free choice of tyre, as will everyone else outside the top 10. Nicholas Latifi starting P13. He'll have Bersey alongside. Fatal P15, then Ray P16, Blade P17, Dream, then Lopez. JD getting disqualified from qualifying will start from the back. As I mentioned earlier, it's not exactly the place you want to start here at Monza. It is fairly difficult to pass, especially if you're stuck in a train. So those drivers towards the back, I wouldn't be surprised if they're a bit aggressive at the start. Because obviously when the field's nice and condensed, it's the best time to try and make overtakes, because you can gain quite a few positions. And, good to see there's plenty of chatter going on in the stream. Nice to see everyone's enjoying the show. Now we can look forward to the race. Now hopefully no one clicks ready up too early. There is a regulation within Contest of Speed that you don't ready up too quickly, because then it allows drivers to fiddle around with their setup, fiddle around with the strategy and fuel load and whatnot. There's a timer now, so we'll get the formation lap underway shortly. And hopefully we do get to see some interesting stuff here at Monza. As I mentioned earlier, it's a bit of a 50-50 here at Monza. It's either fairly boring or it's a drama fest. Either or. Usually doesn't sit in between. Oh yes, your predictions, Vermoom. Almost forgot about those. So your predictions for tonight, we have on the podium Cameron, Nicholas and Andy. So Cameron's P2, Nicholas is P13, Andy down in P11. But it is Monza, anything can happen, so those fellas could quite easily end up on the podium if the right set of circumstances happen. DNS, we have JD, No Cap and Elliott right now. So we got JD at the back of the field, No Cap in P3 and Elliott in P8. Elliott might be a fairly high chance of retiring on the opening lap because he's in the middle of the pack. If you're in the middle of the pack on the opening lap here at Monza, it's just carnage. It's an absolute mess to get through the opening couple of corners in the middle of the field here at Monza. It's not where you want to be. You want to be at the very front or at the very back for the opening lap here at Monza. We'll run through the order again just to see who's on what tyre. So we know the top 10, they're all starting on the soft compound tyre. But what about the drivers outside? Well, the two Ferraris of Andy Wu and Kitten Petter starting P11 and 12. They're starting on the soft compound tyre. Nicholas Latifi in P13 is the first driver to start on the mediums. He has Bersey in P14. He's starting on the soft compound tyre. Fatal P15 on the mediums. Ray P16 on the softs. Blade P17 on the mediums. Dream P18 on the softs. Lopez P19 on the mediums. And JD P20 on the soft tyre. So all the medium runners will be starting on the same side of the racetrack. Good to know. And I think that's on the racing line here at Monza. I'm pretty certain pole position starts on the racing line. I'm pretty certain. See where Dalton lines up in just a few moments. So yeah, all the odd numbered placements line up on the racing line. All the even ones start on the inside. Yeah, Cameron's lining up to the inside. So, Dalton starting from pole position, he's on the racing line, which is the cleaner side of the racetrack. So, theoretically, he should get more grip off the line. But if he doesn't, Cameron has the inside line for turn 1. And with the nature of turn 1, you can really send it in there. So, yeah, this might be interesting heading into Rettifilio for the first time in race conditions. Everyone's lined up, ready to race here in Monza. We got 10 red lights and we are underway here in Italy. It's a nice start from Dalton. Similar story with Cameron. Preferred has overtaken Racing Fan off the line. He's into P4. It is a mega start from Dalton heading into turn 1. Oh, contact there between, I think that was Cameron and Preferred. I'm not too sure. Preferred is now into P3 coming out of turn 2. The rest of the field, though, making their way through the opening chicane. Unscathed, I spoke too soon. Fatal, a massive crash in the background of shot. He's our first retirement. He's been sent into the wall on the outside of turn 3, and we have a virtual safety car. Well, just as soon as I thought we got through unscathed, well, Fatal was sent into the wall. We're down to 19 cars already. Deary me. So that was a mega start from Dalton. He had almost half a second leading into turn 1. Gap between P1 and P2. That was a mega start. And Cameron, I think he got tagged by Preferred. I'm pretty certain. He lost the back end coming around the apex of turn 1. He managed to save it though, and he's still in P2. Preferred's currently occupying P3. He's made up a few places off the start. No cap. P4, you can see the drivers still trying to get temperature in their tyres as they weave down the back straight. Got the opening lap out of the way. It's now lap 2 of 27. Cameron trying to follow Dalton down the straightaway, trying to pick up any slipstream he can as Dream goes into the pit lane. Andy Wu going down the inside of Racing Fan here. They're side by side through turn 2. Racing Fan giving enough space. They're still side by side heading towards Curva Grande, but Andy Wu gets in front. He's now into P5. Great stuff. Kitten Petter has dropped down the order. Oh my goodness me, how did the car do that? It just leaped into the air. Oh, nothing. How did it do that? That must have been lag. It had to have been lag. He's got front wing damage. He's missing an end plate as Lopez and Blade are battling. Lopez gets in front into P16. The car just did a bunny hop at the exit of 2 heading into 3. I've never seen that before. It had to have been lagged, surely. Coming through the Ascari chicane now, turns 8, 9 and 10, the midfield. Trying to get into a rhythm for this race. Oh, someone has spun. I think that's Blade. It is Blade. He's made a mistake at turn 10. Dalton trying to pull away from Cameron. The gap has 0.8 of a second. It's now lap 3, so DRS is now enabled. So if Cameron can stay within that 1 second range, we'll get the massive helping hand from DRS. Preferred's just 1.6 seconds behind. He still has no cap for company. Then it's a bit of a gap to Andy Wu in P5 as Kitten Petter goes into the pit lane to get that front wing fixed. And you've got the fairly lengthy train behind Andy Wu. You've got Racing Fan Express, Elite Game Boy, Elliott, Payton, Mitch Burns, Bursey. They're all in this train. It's basically the entire midfield. There's the back end of the leading group. Here's Andy Wu. Oh, running wide. That was Express in the AlphaTauri. And somehow he managed to save that car. He's now got Elite Game Boy right behind. Right on his gearbox, heading towards Ascari. Is he close enough to send it? No, is the answer. He has to stay behind Express. Coming out of the Ascari chicane, Fatal has left the session, fair enough. And here comes Elite Game Boy trying to draw alongside Express. Express holding that inside line. Game Boy looking around the long way. Yeah, you can't really make a move on the outside of Parabolica. It's just not really feasible. Cameron sets a new fastest lap, and he's closing the gap to Dalton ahead. Look at this train. It is really tight here, heading down the main straightaway. Express is a sitting duck as he doesn't have any DRS. Here we go into the Rettifilio chicane. Game Boy gets in front. Oh, Express and Elliott almost came together. Coming around turn 2 now, Payton tries to get by. Oh, he loses the back end, and here comes Mitch Burns to take P10 away from the Alpine driver. Bursey is right there as well. Just watching the show in P12, it seems. Latifi and Ray are side by side, heading towards Delaroche. Yeah, it's tight at the entry to the chicane. Ray gets through. Oh, and JD almost goes into the back of Latifi. Latifi gets a nice run out of 5, heading towards the first Lesmo. Down the inside into the right-hander. They make a bit of contact. And here comes JD, rather, down the inside into the second Lesmo. It is very tight on the exit, but they all get through relatively unscathed. Meanwhile, this pack battling through the Ascari chicane. You do have to be incredibly careful here. One slight misjudgment and you're in the wall. They all get through unscathed. But now Racing Fan is well and truly behind NoCap. 3.3 seconds between P4 and 5. So we definitely got a leading group, formed by NoCap, Profodes, Cameron, who is going to try and take the lead away from Dalton. They're side by side into turn 1. Wheel to wheel contact there. Coming out of 2, Cameron takes the lead. Elliott overtaking Express. Express taking the position back through this opening chicane. Elliott gets better drive on the outside, so he takes P8. Mitch Burns isn't able to capitalise on the situation, so he stays in P10. Andy on the back of Racing Fan, unable to attack just yet. Oh, he's lost the back end. Nice save, though, but here comes Game Boy. He draws alongside, looking down the inside here at the first Lesmo curve. Heading towards Lesmo 2. Andy gets back in front. Ray has spun, I think. Or at least lost positions down to P15. The Aston Martin driver. Hate to be those guys towards the tail of the field. Won't be a great position to be with Blade, Dream and Kitten Petter. They're basically praying for a safety car to come out at some point. Very wide there's Peyton in the Alpine, using all of the runoff area on the outside of turn 10. Look at this train. It's all tight. It's very entertaining, but unfortunately for those guys in the middle of it, they won't be able to do too much, as Dalton might be trying to set up Cameron here, looking down the inside into turn 1. Well, Dalton doesn't fully commit to it, so Cameron hangs on to the lead. With them battling, Profodes is closing the gap. Andy Wu takes back P6. He has to cut the chicane. He overshoots turn 1 and he gives up quite a few positions as a result, and drops all the way down to 10th place. Yes, 10th place. Peyton as well, cutting the racetrack. He's now down to P16. Some sort of error at turn 1. Front wing looks okay though, so he should be able to continue at competitive speeds through the De La Roggia chicane. Bit of a wiggle there from Ray. Running wide is Lopez, losing the back end of the car. Nice spin to get pointed back in the right direction. I'll give it a solid 8 out of 10 for style, as Ray has crashed out at the exit of the first Lesmo. There he is there. That's more than likely a Hamilton impression. Just losing the car on the outside curb and put it into the wall. I thought Lopez was going to do the same thing at the exit of the second Lesmo. Rather surprisingly, we haven't got a safety car from it. Just yellow flags being waved. So, no safety car at all being called out onto the racetrack. We go down towards turn 1. Dalton looking down the inside. A lot more committed this time around. And takes the lead back. Elliott, Game Boy changing places just before the braking zone into turn 1, so the McLaren driver is now into P6, and Game Boy spins out at the exit of 1, entering turn 2, and rejoins rather awkwardly. JD will try and get by. JD is successful getting by the Alpine, so Game Boy now down to 13th place. Let's see. The two McLarens closing in on one another. NoCap still following Profodes around. Cameron battling Dalton, heading towards the Ascari chicane. Only 3/10 separating the two. Make that 4/10. Make that half a second between the top two. Not a great run through the Ascari chicane for Cameron, as you kind of expect, with Cameron having to put up with all the dirty air coming off the Williams. Might see a bit of a battle going on between Nicholas, JD and Elite Game Boy, as Andy Wu and Express change places. Well, they're continuing to change places as well, heading into Parabolica, but Andy gets in front. Cameron with a whole heap of DRS. Where does he go? To the outside, into the Rettifilio chicane. Oh, and he gets in front of the Williams just before the apex, so he retakes the lead. Elliott overtaking his teammate Racing Fan. He's into P5. There's Mitch Burns just behind. JD and Nicholas changing places into turn 1, so JD's into 11th. Nice effort from JD so far. He's made up 9 places after being disqualified from qualifying. Heading around Curva Grande now towards the Della Roggia chicane. Fellas are fairly spread out, so we won't see too much action from them at this stage. Have to wait until they get into a DRS zone. Let's see a little bit of action then. Cameron's pulled away a little bit from Dalton. Gap increased to about 6/10. They're now coming through the Ascari chicane. I don't think Dalton will be close enough to try and attack down the main straight into turn 1, but I suppose we'll see. Yellow flags are about. That's Blade in the Haas. Gets it pointed back in the right direction. A whole heap of wheel spin as well. But he's still in the race. That's the main thing. Yellow flag for Lopez. He's lost the back end well after Lesmo too. And he's got a damaged front wing on that Mercedes as well. Elliott has spun as Dalton takes the lead. Elliott has spun. My goodness, how did you end up here? This is well off at Parabolica. No damage. No obvious damage anyway as Andy pits. No front wing change, so this is a strategic stop. Coming out now. He'll come out in 13th, no doubt. Yeah, that was a very interesting place to spin. Express trying to find a way past Bursey, heading towards turn 4. Can he send it? Oh, he doesn't want to send it. He'll stay behind the Alfa Romeo. Probably an intelligent thing to do. So then he can try and get DRS heading towards Ascari. Heading around the second Lesmo. There's Mitch Burns and Racing Fan in P6 and P5. Express not close enough to attack towards turn 8. So he has to try and set up an overtake on the next lap on lap 10. 6:10 separating the top 2. I don't think Cameron will be close enough. But he will gain plenty of time down this main straightaway with the help of DRS. Look at him close the gap. It was 6/10 at the DRS zone. At the end of the DRS zone, it's closed up to 2.5, 3/10. Oh, a spin from Cameron! He clobbers the inside curb at turn 1, and the game said, no, mate, you can't do that. Picked up his car and spat him into the gravel trap on the outside of turn 2. JD's now overtaken Nicholas. He's into P8, but that is a race-changing moment for Cameron. Battling for P2 with Dalton. Just hit that orange curb on the inside of turn 1. Because of that minor lapse in judgment, he is down to 4th place. Oh, dearie me. He was using a lot of the curb at the exit of Lesmo too. He's trying desperately to recover some lost ground. Heading into the Ascari chicane. He's not close enough to attack Preferreds. It's now a Williams 1-2. Haven't said that in a long time. Gap is 4 seconds between Dalton and No Cap. Rick, he's got a clear track in front of him, minus the Mercedes of Lopez. As he goes into the pit lane. Oh, no, he doesn't. It just looked like it from the minimap. I thought he was going in. He wasn't. He was just taking a very narrow line at the exit of Parabolica. Ooh. As Racing Fan's in. Racing Fan into the pit lane. He'll be pitting onto a set of mediums. Cameron trying to get by Preferreds down the inside at 1. And he's successful. He's into P3. Next target is No Cap. Here comes Latifi. Down the inside towards turn 1. Gets him before the braking zone. Fairly simple overtake for Nicholas. He's back into P6. Sector 2, yellow flags. That is Mercedes-Benz of Lopez. Oh, careful, Lopez. Ghosting is turned off. But don't do anything silly. And he doesn't. Good boy. Very good boy there from Lopez. Alright, Cameron. He's got DRS and he Well, he switched it off briefly, using a bit of overtake, and look at that. No Cap was a sitting duck. Man, DRS. Just power by. With no trouble whatsoever. Game Boy, I don't think you're close enough. Dream and Blade have changed places for P14 and 15. And they change places again. So Blade back in front. Nice little aerial shot here. As Cameron goes into the pit, so he's pitting early compared to the leaders. He'll be moving on to the medium compound tyre. He'll be trying to get an undercut. Mitch Burns pitting as well. The only trouble is, when you don't have DRS, you are at a fairly hefty disadvantage as JD and Elite Game Boy are into the pit lane as well. Medium tyres for Burns. Will be medium tyres as well, I assume, for JD and Elite Game Boy Racing Fan. On fresh tyres, he'll gain a few places with drivers in the pit lane. Andy Wu following suit. There is Mitch Burns. Will he come out in front of Andy Wu? He most certainly will. So Mitch into 7th. Andy Wu in 8th. And there's Bursey, Express. And it's JD and Elite Game Boy with Peyton just behind. Petter's overtaken Blade as well. So Petter into 14th. These three having a little bit of a scrap at the moment. Trying to entertain themselves. Waiting for a safety car period if there is one. Might see a position change here between the two Alpines as Peyton has the inside line for 4 and he gets by. Game Boy doesn't put up any sort of resistance, so nice bit of teamwork there from the Alpine duo. Yellow flags are about. That's Blade in the Haas. Spinning out at turn 5. He's backing off because Elliott's coming through. So Dalton and No Cap into the pits. Will be a bit of a delayed stop for No Cap. Cost him maybe 2-3 tenths. It's nothing. If that was F1 2020, it would have cost him 5 seconds. It's with a update, they actually quickened the time for a double stack, so No Cap probably lost 2 or 3 tenths with that stop compared to a normal pit stop that's uninterfered. Mitch Burns trying to draw alongside Racing Fan, and he's just gone through. Racing Fan, I guess, was unable to get any traction down at the exit of turn 2, and Burns just scooted on by. Through the Della Roggia chicane, you can see the drivers avoiding that orange curb on the inside of both turn 4 and 5. They are shocking curbs. They are well and truly shocking curbs. I mean, Cameron demonstrated that perfectly earlier. It's just a minor touch, but it picked the car up and he almost did a complete 360. It was that violent. Profodes is in, Peyton and No Cap getting 3-second time penalties for multiple warnings. Set of medium tyres. Away he leaves. Here comes Nicholas to take the lead. He's yet to stop. On the medium compound tyre, here comes Dalton to take P2. Profodes comes out in potentially P5. Here comes No Cap. No, Profodes should stay in front in 4th place, but his tyres won't be up to temperature just yet compared to No Cap's tyres, which are up to temperature, so Profodes will be a little bit vulnerable. Not massively, just a little bit. Kids and Petro and Dream are into the pits as well to pit onto the medium compound tyre. Yellow flags are about. Was that Nicholas bringing them out? I think that might have been Nicholas bringing those out. Nicholas can try and do his teammate a favour. The longer he stays out and the longer he holds up Dalton, the closer Cameron gets to Dalton. So if this was real life, you would have the race engineers over at Red Bull screaming at Nicholas to hold up Dalton for as long as he can. Basically do a Sergio Perez from Abu Dhabi 2021. There's quite a difference between Abu Dhabi and Monza in terms of the track characteristics. It won't be easy for Nicholas to try and hang on. The DRS zones here are long, and DRS is freaking powerful. He's still maintaining the lead through turns 1 and 2. Heading around Curva Grande. 310 separating the two. Blade has crashed out. That is at turn 10, and we have a safety car. Don't worry then about trying to hold up Dalton. Safety car is going to do that for you. Our third retirement has resulted in our first safety car, and this has played a little bit into Nicholas's hands because he can pit onto the soft tyre and go to the end if he wants to, and I think he will do exactly that. It brings up an interesting idea though. Everyone can try and pit onto the soft tyre and go to the end. But who will pit and who will prefer track position? That's the ultimate decision you have to make with this safety car. It's at a very, very interesting time for the drivers here at Monza. Will they stay out on the mediums or will they pit? Nicholas is definitely pitting. But what about everybody else? So they're coming around Parabolica now. Nicholas will pull off into the pit lane. There he goes. And Dalton follows suit. Cameron, do you pit? The answer is yes, he does. Profode's coming in too. No Cap coming in, so they all want fresh tyres. No one wants track position just yet. Oh, no, one does. That's Racing Fan in the McLaren. Well, he'll come out in the lead. Lopez, he'll be a bit awkwardly stuck. Yeah, let Lopez in front. That's a better thing to do, Racing Fan. Let Lopez in front. So then he's not stuck behind you when you catch up to the safety car. Oh, don't tell me he's got an illegal overtake. You're kidding. He was still coming out of the pits, game. Well, poor Lopez, he's going to be stuck a lap down now. Oh, alright. Even though he was still coming out of the pits, still had to line up behind Racing Fan. That is really silly. Anyway, that's just the game. So, Latifi, Dalton, Cameron, Profodes, No Cap, Burns, Andy, Bursey, JD, Peyton, Gameboy, Kitten Petta, and Lopez. They've all pitted for fresh, soft tyres. Basically everybody. Those who aren't are Elliot, he's on fresh medium. Same with Dream. They might do themselves a favour if they pit and put on soft tyres. You might as well try and be on the same compound as everybody else, especially if it's the softest compound. You don't want to be stuck on the mediums and be in 14th and 15th where you're not scoring anything, so you might as well take the gamble. Pit in, put on soft tyres and send it. But Express and Racing Fan, they're taking a slightly different gamble. They're on older medium tyres, but they're willing to take track position over fresher tyres, as Dream gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, so he's made some sort of misjudgment at the Ascari chicane. So, but I think the softer tyre is the better way to go rather than taking track position. I have a feeling. I mean, actually, I can talk from experience. I did a league race here on Monday. We were supposed to do a super sprint format where we do a short qualifying and 2 25% races. It was looking like it was going to be pretty interesting. So the race was only 13 laps long, and I think I qualified 6th, if I remember correctly, in a Williams. And the safety car came out on lap 1. So everyone pitted in for medium compound tyres because it's a 25% race, you know. Might as well pit in, get them out of the way. Thing is, I was one of a few people who went back in for a second time to put on the soft tyre. Now, I went from, I think it was about 8th or so, and I went all the way down to 16th for the restart. I ended up winning the race. So, granted, it wasn't me cutting my way through the field like a god or anything. A lot of drivers in front of me made mistakes, and they basically made a massive red carpet for me to get through towards the front. Yeah, the soft tyre was definitely much, much quicker compared to the mediums. So, although these fellas have got track position, they're at a fairly hefty disadvantage. Just the raw pace of the soft tyre is just really good. Yes, we didn't do the second super sprint because Cody's released an update in between the two races, and that screwed everybody over, so we just postponed the race. Alrighty, racing fan, when do you go? He goes soon. Is he going full throttle? Yeah, he is. So the game's holding him up as Lopez gets a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with Race Fan, as Lopez is trying to get his lap back. Looking down the inside towards turn 1. He's got to send it here. Oh, it's tight between these two. One of which is our leader, which is the orange one. One of which was a lap down, as No Cap has spun. Or was he forced off the racetrack? He's now down to 12th place. Preferred gets by Express. So does Andy Wu. Now it's a battle between Racing Fan, Latifi and Dalton as they go through De La Rosier. Dalton has to cut the chicane. Here comes Cameron to try and file his way through into the first Lesmo curve. Dalton has the inside line. It's 2x2 coming out of the first Lesmo into the second one. Dalton gets in front. Latifi is into third. Preferred's into fourth. Bit of a wiggle there from the Alfa Romeo in the background. I think that was JD. Heading towards the Ascari chicane. Look at them. All hungry, trying to get as many positions as they can, as Latifi gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So Lopez is going to try and drive away from the leaders as best he can. He basically has to pray for another safety car coming out. Oh my goodness me! 2 cars crashing out on the back straightaway, and there is the safety car. Elite Game Boy. Oh, and Elliott's around too. What's happening here? Changing places going on as drivers are checking up to try and get under the Delta. But Game Boy and Express crashing on the back straight. Elliott's involved. Front wing change for Peyton. New set of tyres for Petter. So I'm guessing Peyton was involved in that. Elliott was definitely involved in that. So was Elite Game Boy and Express. Both of them retiring on the back straightaway. 5 cars out of the race. Well, this has given Lopez the perfect opportunity to properly get the lap back and attach himself onto the back of the train in 15th place. Game Boy has left the session, understandably so. I don't think Race Fan will pit either. I think in his position you got to commit to what you've got now. I mean, if he pits, he loses, what, 10, 11 spots. He'll drop down to P11 behind Green. And you won't be getting that back. Not around here. Not around here with so few laps remaining. And everyone on the soft tyre. So yeah, he's committing to it. So he'll try and do another restart. A little bit of drama. As I mentioned at the beginning, these races tend to be either a bit of a bore fest or drama fest. Andy Wu and Bursey pitting for new tyres. They can afford to. They won't lose too much track position from where they were. Petter's coming onto the scene, but he should line up behind Bursey in P12. Yeah, this is just the nature of Monza. Tend to see a lot of drama because it's very high speed, closely fought racing. So if there's even the slightest mistake, it's amplified because of the speed. And when you have a battle side by side at seemingly any part of this racetrack, the stakes are pretty high. Yeah, but I mean, about 4 cars I think crashed here. You can see the tyre marks in the background there. Drivers losing it on the grass. So yeah, if the drivers can lose it on a straight here at Monza, they can lose it just about anywhere. Sort of perfectly demonstrates the intensity of this circuit. Oh, and they're going to do it all over again whenever the safety car decides to go back into the pits. Mercedes safety car as well, not the Aston Martin one. I'll be quite keen to see the new Mercedes safety car, that AMG GT Black Series, I think it is. It's got a really aggressive looking car. It looks fantastic. Looks like a proper track day car with a bunch of police sirens on top. I don't know, Alec. That's a nice question. Judging by the 44 at the end of your name, I'm guessing you're Express. I hazard a guess. Yeah, I guess it's Monza. I don't know. It just happens sometimes. You know. Around here, you always expect an accident at either Rettifilia or Della Roggia or Ascari or something, but I suppose even on the straights, when you're all bunched up, one slight mistake can really amplify into a huge one. Oh good, I got that right. Yeah. Alrighty, I'm just waiting on Lopez to catch up. He was a fair way behind, so yeah. Making his way through Della Roggia. Nice little aerial shot here, looking down at the racetrack. Heading around the Lesmo curves. That Mercedes actually looks pretty dirty, doesn't it? I'll give Cody's a bit of credit when it comes to the visuals. They have had in some pretty neat stuff. Like, I notice, especially with the AlphaTauri, it gets especially dirty. And it's a neat touch because, you know, Formula 1 car never stays clean, especially when you do something like that. And the safety car is in this lap. Why is it going in so late? Oh my goodness, we're going to have to the exact same restart as we did on the last one. Oh god, everyone's going to punch up. This is going to turn into a farce in a moment. As we're back under green flag racing on lap 22 of 27. It's six laps to go. Cameron getting by, Profodes into 4th place. Here we go, down into the opening chicane. Cameron gets by his teammate Latifi into 3rd. Coming around turn 2, heading towards Curva Grande. You can see the train forming already. Andy Wu getting by Dream. He's into P8. Elliott overtaking No Cap into 12th place. Heading towards Della Roggia. Dalton isn't close enough to attack the McLaren here. Side by side between JD and Burns. Make their way out of the chicane. JD's now into 6th. Burns down to 7th. He's got Andy Wu alongside, heading into the first Lesmo, and the Ferrari's in front now, into 7th. Heading towards the second Lesmo, Andy keeps P7. Now files into the train. Dream just behind, same with Bersey and Kitten Petter. Now they have the opportunity to try and gain some big points here, so long as they survive, of course. Heading into the Ascari chicane, turns 8, 9, into turn 10. Dalton gets a very nice run out of 10. He's now drawing alongside the McLaren down the back straightaway. And now wheel to wheel heading towards the famous final turn of Parabolica. And, oh, Dalton actually backs on. Oh, he hits the back of the McLaren there, forcing Racing Fan wide. He goes through into the lead. Cameron follows suit. Racing Fan now down to 3rd. Now, Dalton might have got a little bit of damage from that. I'm not sure. Suppose we'll find out in a few moments. Latifi trying to draw alongside Racing Fan now. Heading into turn 1. Latifi has the inside line for 1, but not for turn 2. Contact, and spinning again is Cameron. Did he do the exact same thing as before? More contact as the midfield sees the stranded Red Bull. We have a whole heap of wing damage. Kitten Petter's got a destroyed front wing. Got sector 1 yellow still. That's Lopez spinning out. Anyone else got wing damage here? I suppose not. Racing Fan going a bit slowly. His front wing looks okay. Sector 2 yellow flags. That is the Alpine of P-Dog Peyton. He's now out of the race, crashing out at the De La Roggia chicane. Is that right? He's retired on track. That car's still moving. So he's elected to retire on track. So much stuff going on at the moment. Through the Ascari chicane, JD working away at Racing Fan, who's a bit of a sitting duck on those medium compound tyres. And it seems that Dalton's Williams is just fine. He's got a 2.4 second gap to Latifi. What wretched luck for Cameron, spinning out twice at the same section of the racetrack. He's got end-play damage. So he gets impacted. What about No Cap? No, his front wing looks okay. So a few drivers getting damage there at turn 1. Oh, and spinning, that's Lopez. Oh, and Cameron's driving into Lopez. He drove directly into him. And we have a virtual safety car. What on earth were you doing? You had every chance to avoid that. Instead, you drove directly into him. Yeah, that's bound to be looked at by the stewards. Kitts and Peta getting a front wing change on his car. Lopez getting a new set of tyres. Bersey leaving the pit lane in 10th. Make that potentially 11th. No Cap stays behind. Right. You fellas doing alright here at the front? You seem to be doing alright here at the front. Don't really know where to look in these sort of circumstances. There's No Cap and Bersey are battling already and the VSC hasn't even ended yet. Oh, a long virtual. It's lasting a while. Lasting a very long while. Well, there's a few drive-thrus. Racing Fan's got one. And he's the only one. I thought I saw the prompt come up more than once there. No, it's just Racing Fan. He's the only one with a drive-thru and he's serving it right now. Lopez gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple... I could have swore I saw more than one prompt. Anyway. Just one guy. That's Racing Fan getting a drive-thru penalty. Look how dirty that AlphaTauri is. See what I mean? It gets very, very dirty. Dream working away at Andy Wu. He's right behind the Ferrari. Not quite close enough to attack though into turn 4, I think, unless he does an almighty send down the inside, which he doesn't do. Oh, back end stepping out there. Preferred my battle Latifi for second here. I'll tell you what, Latifi's got a really good chance of not finishing on the podium with those 3 seconds worth of pens. JD is right there in 4th place. There's a good chance he finishes on the podium tonight. Or running wide there. Probably a warning for Nicholas. I don't doubt it. Anyway. Here comes Dream. Right behind Andy. He's trying to draw alongside the Ferrari now. Heading towards Parabolica. Down the inside into the final turn. He gets him before the braking zone. In fact, that might have been tactical from Andy. I think he just might... Oh, he gets a bit of a wiggle on at the exit of Parabolica. Losing a whole heap of time. He's going to gain some of that back. Thanks to him getting DRS. That's why he made it so easy for Dream to get through. He would get DRS here down the main straightaway. Keep this fight alive. Preferred's half a second behind Latifi. Will he try and go for position or will he just stay behind the Red Bull? Like Dalton's gone. He's got a 3-second margin to Nicholas. He just needs to keep the car within the white lines and he's got it. No Cap sets the fastest lap. And he's in 10th place currently, though he's got Bersey well and truly for company. With that 3 seconds worth of penalties, there's a good chance No Cap won't finish inside the top 10. Meaning it will be 3 races in a row when No Cap won't score points. And he's been very quick, No Cap. Just horrible luck. And he's losing time to Dream, so... Seems that Dream's got the measure over the Ferrari. Ferrari might have damage too. See there through the Ascari chicane, Dream just drives away by 2/10. See with the tyre situation, Andy's got fresher tyres, so I reckon Andy's got damage. Just a little bit of damage, nothing major. Just a little bit. It's now the final lap, lap 27 of 27. Profodes is closing in on Nicholas. The battle for P2 on track is on. Coming through the opening chicane, the Rettifilio chicane. There's JD just in the background with a good chance to get P3 at the end of this race. Coming around Curva Grande, heading towards the Della Roggia chicane. Profodes is close. Not close enough though. But there's a small chance he'll be able to send it into turn 8 so long as he nails this middle sector. Half a second separate the two. Gap increases just a little bit. It's now hovering at about 5.5 tenths as they head onto the straightaway towards Ascari. Profodes, I don't think will be close enough. He's dumping all his battery. Try and close that gap. Will he try and go for position here? And the answer is no. He stays behind, heading through turns 8, 9 and 10. Meanwhile, out in front, you can see the Williams of Rick Dalton cruising. He only has one more corner to negotiate, and Profodes won't be close enough to attack here into Parabolica. It's been a fine drive from the Williams driver. Rick Dalton will take the checkered flag and win the Italian Grand Prix here at Monza. Nicholas Latifi will cross the line in second. He will be demoted off the podium, though. It'll be Profodes finishing in P2 and JD from 20th after being disqualified from qualifying. He finishes P3. What an effort. He'll get driver of the day for sure. Latifi finishes 4th. Andy Wu finishes in 5th. Then Dream in P6. Mitch Burns in 7th. Then it'll be the two McLarens of Elliott and Racing Fan. At least it's a double points haul for McLaren. What could have been for Racing Fan if he didn't get that drive-through. Could have been a few more points. No Cap will finish P11. Bursey will finish inside the points in 10th. And Kitten Petta will cross the line inevitably to finish P12. Then it'll be Kitten Petta. As Petta gets a 10-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. Oh, that's incredible. And what do you know, JD got driver of the day. What a surprise, right? He only went from last to third. The podium celebrations here at Monza. It's a fine drive from Rick. First time I've seen this guy race. You can tell he's a quality driver. Very quick. Profodes P2. He'd be pretty happy with that. And JD, I bet he wasn't expecting that. After getting disqualified. I wasn't expecting that. I said at the beginning that he's going to have a hard time cutting his way through because it's Monza. You know, you get DRS trains forming, he gets stuck in them. He finishes 3rd from 20th. What do you know? Not a bad effort from Nicholas either, coming up from 13th to finish 4th. Andy Wu from 11th to 5th. Dream from 18th to 6th, making up 12 places. Nice effort there. Burns from 9th to 7th. Elliott qualified 8th, finished 8th. Racing Fan finishing 9th. Not a bad effort considering he got a drive-through at the end. Bursey completes the top 10 after starting from 14th. No Cap got fastest lap, but it's no points for the Israeli driver as he finishes in 11th. Kitten Petta in 12th, then Lopez in 13th. Our retirees, Cameron, Payton, Game Boy, Express, Blade, Ray, and Fatal. A lot of retirements here at Monza. Quite right, Noah. JD did very well. Kept out of trouble, and as a result, he got 3rd. But that will be Williams scoring their first points of the season after 3 rounds, so I suppose better late than never. Oh well then though. It seems your gut feeling at the start, with your hunches, your predictions being a bit off, seemed they came true. So, but it's alright. Still got a few of them right here and there. No, not a bad day in the office for Rick. Had a nice battle with Cameron, which was ultimately ended by Cameron's hand. Just made a mistake at turn one, clipped the sausage, or that orange rock thing, that horrible rock thing on the inside of turn one, and away went his Red Bull, and he did it again. I think he did it again. He might have had a helping hand from somebody, but it looked like he did the exact same thing as what we saw. And then he crashed right into Lopez, retiring him out of the race. Have no clue what that was all about, but anyway. But a fairly interesting race, I'm sure you'll all agree, here at Monza, which was good. I was caught in two minds to whether this race was going to be interesting or not, and it seemed to be quite an interesting one. But I think with everything said and done, it's time for us to end the stream. A nice one it was too. Until next time, I've been Lane Everingham. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you for round 4 of the AM1 Championship at Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari, better known as Imola, for the San Marino Grand Prix. But until then, it's goodbye.